Good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any land-based sewage plan for the Capital Region District must take care to keep communities involved, intact, safe, healthy, and thriving. To do any less would be to discard the CRD's essential duty of care to all citizens and taxpayers of the region, and would represent a gross failure of leadership. I believe that the CRD board and its directors would advocate neither of these dismal outcomes. Nonetheless, I am deeply concerned about the oblique and clandestine model of assessment of social impacts to the communities of Vic West and Esquimalt of the proposed Biosolids Energy Centre site on Viewfield Road in Esquimalt. The 2010 Westland Report on Land Suitability for a Biosolids facility in the core area of the Capital Region District, commissioned by the CRD, concludes that, and I quote, "Neighbourhood centres are intended to be the focal point of the local community. The location of a biosolids facility in these areas would not be consistent with the intended land use form and function. And," I continue, "operation of a biosolids facility would not be functionally compatible with a residential neighbourhood. The Viewfield site in particular is located directly adjacent to land that the report deems least compatible for sewage treatment development. The site itself is only somewhat compatible, so that's the piece that Diane was referring to in the warehouse district, and pales in comparison to compatibility requirements offered by other sites located in Metchosin, Langford, and Saanich. According to a study commissioned by the Canadian Council of Ministers of the Environment, municipal biosolids from the anaerobic digestion had a more offensive odour than pig manure, making it the most offensive smell indexed by the Council. In fact, of the 4 biosolids treatment measures presented in the study, odour from anaerobic facilities was presented as the most offensive to study participants. The CRD's own study rates that the odour hazard of the BEC as severe to extreme, as compared to the primary sewage site proposed for McLaughlin Point, which was indexed as moderate. Furthermore, the federal guidance document makes a number of suggestions for the development of municipal guidelines that take into account social, economic, environmental, and health impacts of municipal biosolids treatment. Major criteria for considering the social impact of facilities include, and I quote, proximity of the proposed site to neighboring land uses, which would include proximity to property put to residential, commercial, religious, and educational purposes. In fact, the document specifies that the impact to nearby residents needs to be taken into account when planning any treatment facility. As it stands, the proposed site on Viewfield Road sits within 600 meters, or a 600-meter radius of several hundred single and multi-family residential units, at least 1 grocery store, 3 bakeries, several coffee shops, 3 public schools, at least 3 daycares, a Montessori preschool, 4 community gardens, 2 churches, several restaurants, 3 pharmacies, a community center, a community baseball diamond, at least 3 playing fields, 9 playgrounds, and 4 public parks, being Raynor, Banfield, Barnard, and High Rock. And yet, the CRD's own flimsy numerical scoring metric used for the site selection merely monetizes the social impacts of a potential BEC site by randomly considering a 25% depreciation of property values. And to propose the Viewfield site, even with this inadequate assessment in mind itself, to me represents a callous dismissal of the financial havoc that the CRD itself recognizes a BEC site would wreak on these communities. Even so, this system clearly fails to account for the potential social and economic devastation to a set of lively central neighborhoods, and does not consider important selection criteria advised by the guidelines set forth either by the Ministers of the Environment or the 2010 Westland Report, which the CRD itself commissioned. The simple monetizing criteria used by the CRD in its selection process blatantly ignores all of the other impacts of the social standards affecting community well-being and quality of life that the building of a noxious, extremely odoriferous secondary sewage treatment site on this location would have on the communities of Esquimalt and Vic West. In closing, when liaising with the public, the Canadian Council of the Ministers of the Environment advises municipalities that obtaining and retaining stakeholder trust must be at the core of any treatment plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much.